You are in the middle of a sentence when it happens. A sharp jolt behind your ribs. A sound you did not decide to make. Hic. You stop. You wait. And a few seconds later, it comes again, whether you wanted to or not. For the next several minutes, your own body hijacks itself over and over for no reason you can name. You hold your breath. You drink water upside down. You let a friend try to scare you. None of it really works. Eventually, the hiccups just leave, as mysteriously as they arrived. You have had them 1,000 times in your life, and not once have you ever needed them. It feels like a glitch, a pointless bug in an otherwise elegant machine. But the real story is far stranger than a malfunction, because that hiccup convulsing your chest is not a bug at all. It is a memory. It is one of the oldest movements you are still capable of making, a gesture your ancestors were performing hundreds of millions of years before there were people, before there was anything that breathed air at all, back when the creature that would slowly become you was pulling water across its gills in a shallow, ancient sea. To see why, you have to understand what a hiccup actually is. Strip away the surprise of it, and a hiccup is two events, fired in a precise order, a fraction of a second apart. First, a muscle deep in your torso contracts, sharply and without your permission. That muscle is your diaphragm, the great dome of tissue stretched beneath your lungs. It is the muscle you breathe with. Every calm breath you have ever taken, the diaphragm pulled down and air rushed in. In a hiccup, it does the same thing, but violently, all at once, a sudden gulp of air surging up toward your throat. And then, an instant later, the second event. A small flap at the top of your windpipe snaps shut. This is your glottis, the gate between your vocal cords. It slams closed against that rushing air, and the air hits it and stops dead. That collision is the sound. Hic. A spasm below, a slam door above, timed together like the two halves of a single old reflex. Now here is the first strange thing. Why would a movement whose whole purpose seems to be pulling air in end by immediately sealing the airway shut? If your body simply wanted a breath, why slam the door the very moment the air arrives? That combination, suck in, then seal off, makes no sense at all for an animal breathing air. It only makes sense for an animal breathing water. The person who first traced that odd path back through your body is a scientist named Neil Shubin. Shubin is a paleontologist and an anatomist, and he is famous for a simple, unsettling idea. Your body is not a fresh design. It is a hand-me-down. Every part of you was inherited, patched, and repurposed from the animals you descended from, and if you look closely, you can still see the seams. In his work, he traces the wiring of the modern human body all the way back to fish, and one of the clearest fingerprints he points to is the hiccup. Look at the nerve that controls your diaphragm. It is called the phrenic nerve, and by any sane engineering standard, it is a disaster. You would expect the nerve running your breathing muscle to come from somewhere near your chest, close to the muscle it commands. It does not. The phrenic nerve begins high up in your neck, near the top of your spine, and then travels all the way down, past your heart and lungs, to reach the diaphragm far below. It is a long, absurd detour. No one designing a body from scratch would ever route it this way. But it is not a mistake. It is a record. In the fish that were your distant ancestors, the muscles and nerves that would one day become your breathing system sat up near the neck, close to the gills, because that is where the action was. As those animals evolved, as the diaphragm drifted down into the torso over tens of millions of years, the nerve was simply stretched along behind it, still anchored where it had always started. Your breathing is run by a cable that was never rerouted. It still leaves from the old address. And that old address is a clue to what the hiccup really is. In 2003, a team of researchers led by a physiologist named Christian Strauss looked closely at the exact motor pattern of a hiccup, the precise sequence of muscle commands the brain fires. A sharp inward pull, followed instantly by the closing of the airway. Then they compared it to something else. They compared it to the way certain animals breathe with gills. Think of a tadpole, or a primitive air-gulping fish. To move water across its gills, it pushes water into its mouth and throat, and then it must close off the passage to its lungs so that the water flows over the gills and not down into the airway. Pull the water in, seal the tube. Pull in, seal off. It is the exact same two-part rhythm as your hiccup, the same order, the same purpose of protecting a delicate airway from a rushing flood. Strauss and his colleagues proposed that a hiccup is that ancient gill ventilation program, still buried in your brainstem, occasionally firing by accident. The movement that once pushed water across gills has no water to push anymore. So it just seizes your diaphragm, slams your glottis, and produces a small, useless sound. You are not malfunctioning. You are running very old software that was never fully deleted. Does that not change how the whole thing feels? Because here is what makes this so hard to shrug off. That program does not live in your thinking brain. It lives in a tiny ancient circuit low in the brainstem, a kind of built-in rhythm machine that scientists call a central pattern generator. It is the same kind of circuit that lets a creature breathe or swim without ever having to decide to. You cannot reason with it. You cannot switch it off by wanting to. When it fires, all your willpower and all your clever tricks are aimed at a piece of you far older and far deeper than the part of you that is trying. That is why nothing works. You are a modern mind arguing with a 400-million-year-old reflex, and the reflex is not listening. But if hiccups are just a leftover, a pointless echo, then a stubborn question remains. Why do they hit hardest at the very beginning of a life? Because that is the pattern. Hiccups are not evenly spread across your years. You hiccup far, far more as a baby than you ever will as an adult, and it starts earlier than birth. A fetus, still curled in the womb, hiccups constantly, sometimes for long stretches, its whole tiny body pulsing with a rhythm it will spend the rest of its life slowly growing out of. Some fetuses hiccup before they have taken a single breath of air, before their lungs have ever inflated. Whatever a hiccup is for, it is loudest when a human is newest, and that has made some scientists wonder whether it was never truly useless at all. In 2012, a researcher named Daniel Howes offered a second, very different idea. What if the hiccup, at least in mammals like you, was quietly repurposed at some point, given a real job? His suggestion is about milk. When an infant suckles, it swallows air along with the milk, and that air sits in the stomach and takes up space that milk could fill. A hiccup, Howes argued, is a sharp, well-timed way to shift that trapped air, to jolt it up and out, so the baby can take in more of what it actually needs. In this view, the ancient gill program was not thrown away. It was borrowed, handed a new purpose in the strange new world of nursing young, which is exactly the kind of thing evolution does. It rarely invents, it reuses. And there may be yet another reason those early hiccups matter, one discovered only recently. In 2019, a team at University College London, including the researchers Kimberly Whitehead and Lorenzo Fabrizi, studied what happens in a newborn's brain during a hiccup. They found something remarkable. Each hiccup, that sharp contraction of the diaphragm, set off a large burst of activity across the baby's brain, a wave of signal rippling through the developing cortex. Their interpretation is quietly beautiful. The hiccup may be a kind of internal lesson. Every jolt tells the newborn brain where its own breathing muscles are, how they connect, how to feel them, and one day command them. The reflex that looks like the most pointless thing your body does may have helped build the very machinery you use to breathe on purpose. The old gill rhythm, it seems, does not just haunt you. It may have helped teach you how to be alive. So sit with the whole strange shape of it. The hiccup is not a flaw in you. It is a fossil you carry inside your own nervous system, a movement older than lungs, older than legs, older than the land itself. It is the ghost of gills you never had, running on a nerve that still starts in the wrong place, controlled by a circuit so ancient your conscious mind cannot even reach it. And in the very beginning of your life, before you could breathe or speak or think, that ancient ghost may have been the quiet teacher that showed your brand new brain how to work its own body. You are in the middle of a sentence when it happens, a sharp jolt behind your ribs, a sound you did not decide to make. But now you know it was never really a glitch, and it was never really yours to decide. It is a message 400 million years old, sent from a creature in a shallow sea you will never see, still arriving, faithfully, in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. Hic! Say hello. It has come a very long way to reach you.